North
Have you ever
Georgia
heard of it?
Island? Well, now I was raised in Louisiana and Texas, and I lived in New York, and I've lived in Hawaii. But now Florida, I've been to Tampa. It's where I got my first ticket because I was racing my daughter back to the hospital because she couldn't breathe. So I guess I'm a convict now. I'm a criminal. I got a ticket. I ran a light or something. I didn't mean to, but I jumped it, I guess, and it got a picture of me. But I paid that ticket. But I don't know what you're talking about, but let me look it up. Give me the name of what you want. Hold on, I'm going to go to a page.
It looks like it's east of Jacksonville, Florida. If you go east of Jacksonville.
Okay, well, yeah, I live now Tallahassee. There's Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and then me. I'm next to Mobile. I'm in Pensacola. So as you go across Interstate 10, from Jacksonville, because I used to be a truck driver. But you're saying that, what's the name of that city that you're telling me?
Fort George Island.
Fort George Island? Is that what you're going to talk about?
That's where they found the Bet Spear at. They found this thing.
George Island. So you
Florida.
got a story that you're researching. And now, see, if you'll research stories, that helps people. That's the way Mutual UFO Network got started. Fort George Island. Now, you want to know. Let's see.
That's where it was found. The Bet Spear was found in Fort George Island.
To Gulf Breeze. I'm across the 3 Mile Island, Gulf Breeze, Florida. I'm right where they saw the UFOs here, and then where I was abducted was here, or taken. Okay, let's see. It's 5 hours, so 387 miles from me. So that's over to where a Mad Painter Revolution Radio is, our friend, and he's one of the ACO directors with Ken Johnston, the astronaut guy at NASA that was trained in the simulators and all that. Fort George Island. Okay, so that's the story you're going to tell.
There, they believe was a part of a UFO, alien metal spear, in Fort George Island, in Florida, in 1974. And there's a very interesting story. Now, it's a quite lengthy story, but trust me, it's worth your time.
All right, you're going to record it here, right? Now, is it an alien story or a UFO story or both? How are we going to put it in the ACO?
It's a UFO story. It's an alien metal material.
The mysterious BET. Why do they call it BETZ sphere? Why do they call it BETZ?
The Betts family is the one the Betts family is the one that found it. And
all right.
They named it
so you're researching stories to tell to get recorded that I don't have here, right? That's good.
But there's a good reason, because I came across the second one here in Texas. This was the first one I found, and I have currently researching a second one that we've came across, and it's not in the hands of the government. It's in the hand of a private individual here in Texas. And it has many of the same similarities that this one had, that they found in 1974 in Fort George Island, Florida, by the Betts family had found it on their property.
Okay, well, this may sound crazy, folks, but they're going to talk about the Fort George Island, this UFO panel to examine oddball, Associated Press headline, UFO panel to examine oddball, and the United Press International headlines announced 5 scientists meet over steel ball today, and further probe of weird metal ball. Now, you've got recorded here, this is your 4th recording, but you talked about some balls that people found in Texas, right? So you're finding that this is one of your research topics. You're going back and looking for anything.
Yeah, and if you want to see the ball, you can see the spear. And you can see some of the testing that we've done on spear. You can go to the Ronny Dawson YouTube channel, and I actually have several videos. And I have it's called Alien Metal UFO Spear Found in Texas 2018, and there's a playlist. And
you ain't gonna play this, but she is getting in the big truck, Ronnie. I'm looking at a picture of Gary GERRI BETZ. Late 60s in the First Coast magazine, says Gary Betts, 30s, was quickly being known in quiet buried circles as an entrepreneur and activist, feminist, though not in her own self, a woman's liber. Now, she's getting in a big truck. So what's up with that picture? Was she like you and me, a truck driver too. This is beginning her takeover. She was a tractor driver. Ronnie, there's something to them picking individuals, because I worked by myself most of my life as an investigator and as a truck, in the government. Of course, I had to work with teams, but then I was chosen and then drove a truck. So, all right. Well, you talk about the mystery, B-E-T-Z, Gary, G-E-R-R-I, Betts. No, I hadn't heard about it. So here you go. And this, I heard about the sphere, but I don't put it all together. So you get all the details here. Gary and Antone, a marine engineer, moved to the Neff House, 67. So you want to tell the story of B-E-T-Z. It's the Betts family, Gary and Antone, right? That's what you're going to tell us? All right, well, go ahead. You got an hour here, and get your friends from now on. If they hear of something, ask you to investigate it, and you get the story, and then you come on like Jan Aldrich has a whole bunch of stories for years and years. But we'll record them, Ace Folklife, and then we can put them in the Alien Contact Org, ACO Club, and, that's what you're going to be known for, is helping us do research and getting the stories down. So I like your voice, Ronnie, and we'll just do the best we can, but at least we're real. People are telling me this is my 8th year, Ronnie, 8 years doing recordings, live talk shows. I've got 8 years now, and I'm getting thicker accent as I get older because I'm living as a hermit by myself. My husband's dead. My couple of daughters come and check on me. My grandkids stick their head in. But this is all I do, Ronnie, is I'm a geek. I'm a IT geek and play on the computer and help people get their websites up. That's what I do, Ronnie. But I'm gonna help you and help me, and we'll put these stories on your website, on my website, and we're recording right here on Blog Talk Radio. All right, you got an hour. I'm gonna go on hold. It's all up to you now.
Okay, Teresa, thank you. All right, this Betts sphere is alien metal material that was found in Florida by the Betts family in 1974. And it rapidly became the object of fascination, controversy, and alarm for scientists and military officials, ufologists, and the general public, as the story of this mystery sphere spread like wildfire through the international media. On May 26, 1974, Terry Matthew Betts, a 21-year-old pre-med student, along with his mother, Jerry, and his marine engineer father, Anton, were inspecting the damage caused by a brush fire that had raged across an 88-acre swath of woodland they had recently acquired on marshy Fort George Island, which is nestled just east of Jacksonville, Florida. At first, the trio found nothing out of the ordinary, but before their expedition was over, they stumbled across a peculiar, highly polished metal orb that was just under 8 inches in diameter. The only delineating mark was that they could be found on it. Early unblemished object was an elongated triangular shape stamped onto its surface. Stunned, Terry and his parents wondered whether or not they might have stumbled across some kind of downed NASA or even Soviet satellite. Perhaps even they speculated the friction-induced heat of this object plummeting from its orbit might have had something to do with the fire that had ravaged their property. But none of them could find any signs of impact crater or any indication of collision or heat damage on the gleaming metal globe. The trio then surmised that it might be an old-fashioned cannonball which someone had silver-plated as a souvenir. Intrigued by this extraordinary find, Terry decided to heft the 22-pound bowling ball-sized sphere into their car and take it back to their castle-like home, where he showed the unusual object to a 12-year-old relative named Wayne. He was just as perplexed by the mystery sphere as the rest of the family had been. The young medical student then placed his strange prize on a window seat in his bedroom, and there the anomalous object remained virtually forgotten until approximately 2 weeks later, when Terry decided to entertain his friend, Teresa Fraser, with an impromptu guitar recital in his room, eliciting some decidedly unusual reactions from this enigmatic orb. According to Terry's report, moments after he began strumming his guitar, the metal ball started to vibrate like a tuning fork and began emitting a curious throbbing sound in response to certain notes. This sound was accompanied by what seemed to be an inaudible, at least to human ears, resonance that deeply disturbed the Betts family dog. Days later, in April 15, 1974 edition of the Palm Beach Post, Jerry Betts was quoted as saying, "There must be high-frequency waves from it. When we put our poodle beside the ball, she whimpers and puts her paws over her ears." In the days that followed this strange performance, the Betts family began to notice some of the sphere's other peculiar attributes. They observed that when the orb was pushed across the floor, it would stop, vibrate for a moment, change directions, often more than once, invariably return to whoever first rolled it. In one unprecedented circumstance, it rolled for 12 minutes straight without a single pause. Okay, now this is his Betts sphere, 1974. Okay, well, I've came across and I'm researching another one in Texas today, and it's in the hand of a private individual. It's not in the government hands. It was picked up on the front lawn of a guy's house after a UFO had hovered over the house and scared the living daylights out of the family that lived there. There was 11 of them laying on their front lawn the next morning, and the guy who has the sphere was a ufologist of the area, in that area near Taos, New Mexico. And the guy said, "I need to talk to you." He went and seen all the spheres laying out there. And he goes, "Man, a UFO came over our house last night and scared us to death." And he said, "We boarded the doors because we thought they were coming in after us." And he goes, "I never seen anything in my life like this, and I never believed it until last night." And he said, "I don't know what else it could have been but a UFO." And anyway, he gave this sphere to him. One of the 11 he gave to this guy who has it still to this day here in Texas. And he showed me this sphere. And I was intrigued by the sphere. And I had not heard about the Betts sphere. I was tipped off. I was doing a podcast about finding the sphere. And somebody actually said, "Well, it sounds like the Betts sphere." And when I researched the Betts sphere, I come across this story. And I'm like, wow, this ball is very similar to the Betts sphere. And at one point, when I was examining the sphere, my son Derek was over banging on this guy's house. He has an organ over there, and he let my son go over there and bang on the keys of it. So my son was over there banging on this organ. He certainly doesn't know how to play the organ. He's just making noise on the organ. And I'm examining this sphere, and when I had a hold of this thing, he hit a certain note on that organ across the room, and this thing vibrated, and it's kind of scared me because at the time I was observing this thing, I thought it might be some kind of something that didn't blow up that the military had that fell out of a plane or something. And so I was kind of cautious that this might be something that just hadn't went off, some kind of a bomb that had dropped out of a plane that hadn't exploded. So I was still very nervous, and when this thing vibrated, it scared the living daylights out of me. I about had a heart attack right there because I thought it was fixing to blow up. But I felt it. I had two hands on it, and when my son hit the key on that organ, this thing vibrated like crazy and scared the living daylights out of me. And so the next thing we noticed was we put this thing on the floor. I said, we put this thing on the floor, and my son kind of was playing with it on the floor. And he kind of shoved the thing, and he got bored, and he got up and walked away. Well, this thing had been rolling for like 4 minutes, back and forth, back and forth. And this Betts sphere that they found, he said weighs 22 pounds. Well, this one that we got here in Texas, it weighs 55 pounds. It's a lot bigger than the one they have. And this thing rolled for 4 minutes. We're sitting there having a conversation. I said, "Have y'all noticed that sphere is still rolling back and forth on the floor, that it should have stopped by now?" And everybody's eyes turned to the sphere, which was still rolling. And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "We probably should have put a camera on this thing." So we put a camera on it, and it rolled for another 4 minutes.
Uh-oh, he got dropped off, folks. So I hope he'll call back in. It could be the weather because we got this, I can't say the name of it, tropical storm coming in. It's gaining speed. Before I came on, I think it was about 54 miles an hour, but I'm just east of New Orleans in Pensacola. We've got pretty much military town here. This is where the Blue Angels are, and Navy, and